Responsive WordPress theme. How to install a WordPress theme or change the one you have. Hi, my name is Finn, and today we're going to talk about WordPress themes. You will need a website running WordPress. Yep, that's it. This is a 3-step process. First, choose a responsive WordPress theme. Then, install your WordPress theme, and then customize it. That last bit is the one that takes some time. So let's get on. It's also useful to think about a header image. What is it that you want to project? The image of yourself, your brand that you want to project. If you're a massage therapist, you might want a header image that has something to do with massage. If your thing is birds, then maybe it's something to do with birds. If you're into recipes, organics, clean eating, something to do with those things. I'll put a link in the description to Pixabay, where you can get copyright-free images, or you can buy one online. That choice is up to you. Also, a colour palette. Now, the colour palette is important in terms of the kind of look and feel of your website. I'm not a designer, but I do know that people interpret things differently when they see that the colours of your website all go together. And it may be colours that you choose from your image. Again, I'll put a link in the description to a website that shows you 61 different kinds of colour palettes. And fonts, of course. It may be that you want to use one of the WebSave fonts. Choose carefully, although you can change them all later. But it's best to just get all this stuff done first. Now, one thing I will say about your colour palette, there are a lot of websites out there who have a white background with light grey writing on it. The contrast is not good enough. It's very difficult to read. Fair enough, I do understand that the contrast between black and white can be very high and kind of harsh on the screen, but a darker grey gives a good contrast without being quite so harsh. Also, you need to think about the kind of customers who are going to be going to your website. Maybe they wear glasses, maybe they're a bit older, maybe they have different kinds of accessibility challenges. Make your website easier to read and people will come back. So here we are inside your brand new WordPress installation. Yeah, it's not very enlightening, is it? So first of all, we have to look at this menu on the left hand side, and for the purposes of this video we're going to be looking at appearance. Now you'll notice there's a pop-out menu, all to do with appearances: themes, customize widgets, menus, header, editor. Editor for the moment, leave where it is. Themes is what we're after for this tutorial. Let's click on that. Now the thing about themes is you can preview them all. You can try them on for size, just like you would in a shop when you're buying clothes, and just see what they look like. As you can see, theme details, or you can do a live preview. These are the default themes, and you'll probably have either this one, the 2015, or the 2017, previously installed by default on your website. It's quite nice, the picture's quite nice, but it does take an enormous amount of space at the top of your website. So what you want really is to be able to attract attention, to make people scroll down, and if they're just confronted with a picture and nothing else, they'll be like, what do I do now? And click away. Yes, that's a nice picture, I like it, but it's a bit big. So let's have a think about what it is that you want from your website. The best way to start is simple, as simple as you possibly can. So you might want to go and look at other people's websites who do similar things to you and just get an idea of what it is that you want your website to look like. Write down the things from the various websites that you like, and on the opposite side of the page write down the things that you don't like. What we're going to do now is we're going to add a new one. Ooh, that's exciting, isn't it? Not really. There are lots and lots and lots and lots of free themes on WordPress that are available to you, and there are so many thousands of them that really you need to start putting a filter on the ones that you can see. And bear in mind that they don't all look like this when you install them, so that's why you should be previewing them. Click on the feature filter, choose what the subject of your blog is, and that'll cut down at least some of the choices. Is it a blog, e-commerce, food and drink, portfolio, whatever, news? Let's just choose the blog bit here. Now, what kind of layout do you want? Now, most blogs, we're going to choose one that's really simple. Most blogs, they've got the content in the middle, and on one side, generally it's the right, but you can put it on the left if you want. As you can see here inside WordPress, the menu is on the left. It's worth thinking about. I personally prefer the menu and all the choices to be on the right hand side. It's like opening a newspaper, isn't it? When you see whatever's on the top right, that tends to attract your attention, even though you read left to right. Really, we want 2 columns for the purposes of this simple demonstration. It may be that as you get more confident, you want more columns or whatever. So, and we're going to choose the right sidebar. Okay, so what do we want? We want a custom background. We do want a custom header and a custom logo. We do want featured images. Now, most of the time the featured images get in the way. So you don't want to display them on your pages or your posts. You just want to have the ability to have them, and that's how they turn up on the menu at the right hand side with a picture. A full width template. Well, yeah. Do you want theme options? Maybe. I'm not going to put them in here. Do you want a sticky post? Maybe. I'm not going to put them in here. So far we have 7 filters. That should cut down the choices by quite dramatically. Let's apply the filters. Responsive forum, we don't want that one. Some of these are really nice, aren't they? So pretty. But if they're taking a while to render the pictures, just when you're looking at them, you probably don't want to choose one that's slow to load. That one, quite simple, that's straightforward. We can change the font color. Let's have a preview on that one. Now, do you see how you choose it for the picture, but in the preview, there is no picture? That's why you need a header image. There are 2 columns. You've got the main content column and recent posts, recent comments. This is all default. You can change those, you can text them out, put them in. Put a header image in there if you want to, I think. Let's have a look. Let's install it. Now, you need to be a bit careful about how many themes you install, because if you install too many, it slows your website down. And this is where you can see how much you can do with this. So let's have a quick look at do you see all the choices here? Now this theme is responsive. See at the bottom here, there's little icons of screen sizes. That's desktop that we're looking at the moment. That's tablet. And that's mobile. Let's put it back. All right, site identity. Yes, you'll need a logo, and that will go here. Now your site identity, when you share your posts, you will often get the site identity being shared. So think about what you're going to put here. is you can put a little site icon there that appears on the tab when somebody's got your website open. So there are theme options, general settings, logo settings. That's all about the size of your logo, how big you want it up here, how distracting basically. Main menu settings, you haven't set a menu yet. I'll probably do a video for that. Footer settings, that's the bit that you have at the bottom that says things like privacy policy, disclaimer, and it might list the pages that you have, things like about, contact us, that kind of thing. Blog settings, that's the classic style. If you're doing this yourself and it's the first time you're doing it, you really don't want to be fiddling about with it too much. As you become more confident in using WordPress, you may want to change things, but right now, keep it simple, okay? You can show the featured image or not, as you wish. Post meta. What is post meta? That is, sometimes you'll come across a website and down the side there it'll say sign in. It'll give sign in details down the side. Yeah, mostly I don't like to do that because sometimes that can be an invitation to people that you don't want on your website. And it's kind of distracting, and you want to be putting more relevant stuff on that right hand menu. Now, do you want to show or hide the blog post date? That depends, I think, probably on how old your blog post is. Once you've been doing this for a couple of years, you want to think about updating old blog posts now and again, just to keep your content fresh. So the original date on them is maybe something to decide about in the future. Do you want to show the tags and the categories and stuff? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Tags are information for people to be able to search your website. If you haven't got much on there, you probably don't need the tags. There's a blog footer. So blog footers are things, often people will put their author box on the bottom of a blog post, just if there's more than one person writing on a blog, they'll put information on who it is, who's actually written the post. Right, okay, those are the theme options. Colours. This is where your colour palette goes in. You can change the colour of your text colours, and then you would save that, and that would be the colour that you have on that's your projection of who you are. Let's not project purple. Blue's always quite nice, but having said that, most of these themes, what they do is they have the link colours in blue, so you might want to think about that. That's an interesting colour. Whatever, for the moment we're just going to leave it black. Background colour, you might want to think about content, contrast. Now that's a bit of a shocking contrast. I have seen people with that background colour before. I personally wouldn't recommend it, but then I'm not a designer, so what do I know? Let's see if we can get that more towards a kind of buff. Now that's the kind of base colour, and now we're thinking about the transparency. No. Let's see if that's better. Oh, there we go. See, that's one answer to the whole contrast thing. If you want to use black, change the background colour. Lots of people have problems with contrast, and it makes their eyes go funny. So think about contrast always, and you can change all of this later if you want to, but let's just make it a little more, maybe that, or maybe. Okay, people who are dyslexic tend to prefer a buff background if the writing's black. Buff is this kind of beige colour, and they will prefer you for thinking about that. They come to your website and they will heave a sigh of relief that nothing is dancing and they can actually make out the words. Yeah, I like that. Now, I'm going to activate this theme because we're beginning to get an idea of what this is going to look like. And I like it. It's very simple. You might want something a bit more complicated. I can do that. I have a gig on Fiverr that I'll put a link in the description to and tell you more about later. If you're interested, you can go investigate that. Okay, so I'm going to activate and publish this. So now I'm going to have a think about that header image. Now this is where you would want to put a header image. This is a choice for you to make. I'll put a link to Pixabay in the description where you can get copyright-free images for your blogs, whatever, each of your posts or pages. Well, I happen to have some uploaded, because why wouldn't I? I'm going to put that one in. Now you'll note that there are some information in here, and here, because this is a header image, I'm going to call it WordPress header image. This is the alt text is important because it helps with search engine or optimization. So think about what you want to do with this and put something meaningful in there. Don't just ignore it. Ooh, that is pretty cool. That's not the header image that I'm going to be using, but it looks pretty cool, doesn't it? I got that from Pixabay. You can choose some of these images and think about the image, the projection of your brand, what it is that you're going to be doing on your blog, what you're going to be talking about. This is not very relevant to, which is why I'm not going to use it, but for the purposes of demonstration, it's pretty good. Okay, so what does that look like on a tablet? That's not bad, is it? What about on a mobile? That's not bad either. The contrast on this is terrible, so you would want to probably put a darker overlay over that. Canva is a good site to be able to do that with, and I will put a link to Canva in the description. Next, if you're going to keep the text color black, you would want a lighter overlay so that there's better contrast. If you're going to make it the text white, then you would want a darker overlay for better contrast. Canva makes it really easy to put these overlays on. Next bit, background image. You can have a background image as well, but frankly I wouldn't advise it because it just slows your website down. So no, I'm not going to do that. Menus. Now the menus are that you use, the links that you use to navigate the website. Menus are not part of this particular tutorial, but I will probably do one later on. Now widgets. What's a widget? Well, a widget is all of this stuff down here. Okay, you've got a space here for widgets, and you see there's the meta information there, and a space here for widgets. You can change those if you want to. You can remove them and replace them. I'll probably put a tutorial about widgets later as well, but you can change them here. Recent posts, recent comments, archives. Click remove, and there it is gone. You can put it back in again if you want to. There is a section on the main dashboard menu under appearance that takes you to the widgets section. I'll show you that in a different tutorial. Meta information. Well, I personally wouldn't have that anyway, so homepage settings. The homepage is the screen that visitors see when they land on your website. So if you've got a link to your website that isn't deep into your posts, it's just the website name, then this is where they'll come first. Most people put their latest blog posts here, but some people design a static page. A page is one that doesn't change, it doesn't get pushed further down the list, it just is there. The static pages examples are things like about me, contact, that kind of thing. I personally prefer a static page because then I can talk about what it is that's on my site and direct people to what's going to be most useful for them. For the moment, if you're just starting out, I suggest that you have your latest posts on there. And just leave that the way it is. Additional CSS. You won't want this yet. this is about style, and it's not it's how the pages render, and you need to know what CSS is and how to edit it and whatever to be able to fiddle about with that. So I would suggest that you just ignore it for the moment until you feel more confident. Okay, so we're publishing that. Okay, and then we're going to go back. We'll go back to the dashboard and we'll just view what it looks like, what the site looks like with what we've done. That looks great for the moment, doesn't it? And now you can start sharing your wisdom with the world. I personally would be doing a couple of pages first, and there's some plugins that you probably want. Both those things are for different tutorials, but that's the basics and you can get on with it. Now, if you found all of this a bit confusing and challenging and detail orientated, and you're not a detail orientated person, you can pop over to my Fiverr gigs. I do this for you, and I put in the most useful plugins that I've found. So if you're interested in that, and if you'd like me to do it for you, I'd be happy to. Yeah, these are my gigs on Fiverr, and this is the one that we're talking about. You'll recognise me from my logo. Okay, install WordPress with the responsive theme of your choice. Pop over there if you'd like me to do it for you. That's it for this tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you at the next one.